Hello and welcome back to the 410. My name is Adrian, your host, and I have another great show for you today here on the 410. Big game for Maryland yesterday. On the way to the Sweet 16, we're going to talk about that. I couldn't have said it any better myself, Mr. Queen. Also, we got some Raven news for you. The Orioles, they're playing right now in National Park, getting ready for the opening day here on the 27th. This is their final exhibition here. Also, we're going to talk about the NBA recap yesterday. Our lock was all good. Of course, we're going to talk about the rest of March Madness yesterday. A lot of great action going on there yesterday. Great picks for us here on the Discord if you were on that. Also, we're going to talk about today's NBA action and our picks. Of course, I'm going to give you a lock. And if you haven't already, like I said, you better jump on the Discord because you see these chips, they almost falling off the desk over here. All right, before we get into anything here, of course, Cahill Electric, they're on standby. Any electrical needs you may have, whether they're big, whether they're small, they're going to come take care of them. They're going to give you the best price in town and the best service they can. Let them know the 410 sent you, and they're going to hold me right to that. We're going to get into Maryland update here before we talk about anything. Big game. I'm going to give you the highlights right now.
Remaining. Those are the 5 for Colorado State. They get it into the hands of Clifford. Trying to back down Miguel. Blake, that's for the lead. Gets it!
Projected lottery pick Derek Queen hitting the buzzer beater to send Maryland to the right side of a buzzer beater, shocking the fans from Colorado State. 72-71 the final.
Of course, I couldn't have said it any better, Mr. Queen. You let them know we from the 410, and that's how we get down here. Man, that was a good game. Of course, we got to go up against the Gators. Ain't no Gators here in Baltimore, but we should be up for the test. That was a great test for them. They know they got to bring their best. Let them boys rest up and get ready for the Gators here on Thursday. All right, moving on into Raven news. Should we say Lamar Jackson or, excuse me, E-Tone? He'll be showing up here in Power. He'll be starring in that now. So Lamar, hopefully that character comes with a Super Bowl championship as well. I don't think that'll take Lamar off his stuff here. I think he'll be focused. I know people are like, oh, he's in the movies and not paying attention. No, trust me, Lamar's focused on getting that ring, just like D-Hop is, just like Derrick Henry is, and we can go down the line. Them boys are focused on doing one thing and one thing only next year, and that's getting that ring here to Baltimore. All right, like I said, the Orioles, they're playing down there in National Park. Of course, they got some final decisions to make on their rosters and stuff like that. So we're going to get into an Oriole update before the opening day. Don't worry. I'm going to catch you up with everybody that's on the field. Of course, Gunnar Henderson may not play, so I'm going to let you know who be filling in for him. And, of course, we got some young stars. We got some people that we added to the roster, so we definitely got some action for them. We're going to get into that later this week. All right, now, moving on into NBA action from yesterday. Of course, our lock was good. We took Atlanta. They ran away with that game. We're going to talk about that here in just a second. First game up was Detroit going up against the Pelicans. We took Detroit, but of course, Vegas always had something slick for me. After I put this out, they said Cade Cunningham wasn't going to play right before game time, just like they said Zion wasn't going to play. So, of course, this game, of course, Detroit was still supposed to win the game, but point spread, 9.5. That was too big for them to come up with. 136-130. They took this game out here. The Pelicans, of course, struggling really mightily here at the end of the year. Next game up was Cleveland going up against the Jazz. Like I said yesterday, I felt like this was going to be a feel-good game for Cleveland, and that's exactly what it was. They took it all the way home. They won this game 120-91. So maybe they can get back on a winning streak here. But once again, they've looked really shaky here in the last week. Don't know what happened to them. Maybe they did go on that retreat, but I guess the retreat was out there in Utah in the mountains. All right, next game up was our lock for the night. Atlanta goes up against Philly. Of course, Philly undermanned. This wasn't hard to see. Saw this a mile away. Atlanta ran away with this game, 132-119. Except at the end, Trae Young, he got a technical foul for telling the fans to boo the ref. That threw the game off a little bit with about 9 minutes left there. So Philly started catching back up, I guess, just because the refs wanted to see them sweat a little bit, but they ran back away with the game. Made sure our pick was good. Next game of the night was Miami going up against Charlotte. Miami, of course, game time decisions for about 4 players. Well, Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo, they all played. Andrew Wiggins, he was tired of the losing streak. 10 games was enough for him. He dropped 42 points last night to make sure that they weren't going to lose this game. They won this game 122-105. Of course, it was just Charlotte, but maybe Miami can get some footing here and play a little better. But once again, since Jimmy Butler left town, they just don't seem like they can get any rhythm. Next game up for the night was the Raptors going against the Spurs, and I was this close to telling you to take the Raptors as a lock, and something told me don't you dare do that, and I'm glad I didn't, because San Antonio sneakily has been playing really, really well here in the last 7 games. They won 5. I did not know that. They won this 123-89. It was a big game out of Stephon Castle, the Vassal. I think Stephon Castle's going to win the Rookie of the Year. We were just talking about him yesterday with Hurley acting the fool down there at UConn. He was doing his thing there, and it's carried over to the NBA. So San Antonio sneakily, without Wembanyama, without Fox, have been winning, but I don't see that keeping up for the rest of the year. Next game up is the Celtics went up against the Trailblazers. Of course, another game where there's a bunch of players, game time decision. Well, Tatum, he did play. He did his thing. Portland wasn't able to keep up, even though Anthony Simons did play in this game. They weren't able to keep up. That was our pick for this game here. Of course, Portland struggling a little bit here at the end of the year. Boston, they on a 5-game winning streak. We're going to have to throw them probably on the parlay tonight. Next game up was the Nuggets going against the Rockets. This was another one that I saw wrong. The Rockets were on a huge winning streak. The Nuggets, even though without Jokic, I don't know what happened, but my goodness, the Nuggets pulled this thing off 116-111. The Nuggets, they were up by about 20. Houston brought this thing back to make it look like it was a game, but this was never a game. Houston let this one slide. I don't know what happened. Next game up was the last game of the night, and the biggest game of the night to me was the Thunder going on the road against the Clippers. Our pick was the Clippers plus the 3.5. That was good, but OKC at the end of the game, they pulled this one off 103-101. If you watched this game, you would have saw last possession, the Clippers didn't have any timeouts. Kawhi had the ball, and he looked really disoriented. It really looked really bad. They got a bad shot there at the end of the shot clock there, and my goodness, they lost this game with a fadeaway, almost mid-range jumper, almost 3 from Kawhi. That was a mess for me. I don't know what happened. I don't know why they didn't have a play to run. They all looked lost there at the end of the game for the Clippers. All right, let's get into the games yesterday. March Madness, of course. We already showed you what Maryland did. We know they won there by that bucket there by Derek Queen. They got to get locked in. They got to go up against Florida on Thursday. Like I said, this is the best test they probably had all year. They're going to be tested. But like I said, they know they need to play a little bit better than what they did yesterday in order to get the job done. So I'm not worried. Of course, they're getting some points, but I'm taking them to win the game. We'll talk about that later this week. First game up there was Florida going up against UConn, of course, back-to-back championships for Mr. Hurley. They, of course, weren't able to get the job done against Florida. They lost this game 77-75. He was really upset at the end of the game about some officiating. Thought they should have got a call, and I understand that, but he didn't get, you know what, just like they did. Well, I'm going to tell you what. Baylor didn't need any help from any referees or anything like that. They were going up against a beast called Cooper Flagg, and those guys aren't playing around. So don't disrespect Duke like that. Mr. Hurley, you had your run. You had your back-to-back. Go out gracefully. Don't act like that. Next game up, we just talked about it. They were coming out of the tunnel while UConn was going back. They were upset, and they were talking that crazy stuff. Well, Cooper Flagg and them, they didn't let that affect them. They went out there and handled business against Duke. 89-66. Of course, I've been rolling with Duke. If you've been on the Discord, we've been just rolling along with Duke the whole way. Of course, they're going to have a bigger game coming up, but I'm going to take Duke all the way out until they get to see Maryland in the championship. Next game up was Alabama going up against St. Mary's. I thought this would be a close game. It was a struggle just a little bit. Alabama pretty much kept the game at 10 through the game. They won this game 80-66. St. Mary's had a great season, but of course they ran up against Alabama. Alabama has their sights set on the championship. SEC has a bunch of teams here in this tournament. They look like the league to be dealing with here in the future. I don't know if the ACC and the Big East going to combine, but it looks like the SEC may be the biggest league in the nation there. Next up is Michigan State going up against New Mexico. This game started out, New Mexico was almost up by 10. Had me a little bit nervous. Literally, if you on the Discord, this was the last game of the night that we needed to cover the parlay. And so, of course, I was sitting there like, oh, my goodness, don't let this happen to us like this. But Like I said yesterday, we penciled Tom Izzo in to go to the Sweet 16 almost every year. This is his 16th Sweet 16. They made it through the struggle here, 71-63, covering that point spread of 7.5, no doubt. Leading us to a victory on the Discord. I love it. We're going to see if we can get some more action going today. See if these chips can fall off the table tomorrow. Next game up is going to be Kentucky going up against Illinois. Like I said, I really slipped on this one because I should have told you that this was the lock of the day. It caught me off guard that they were giving Kentucky some points in this game. I don't know how I missed that. I thought Kentucky was the favorite the whole time, but my goodness, Kentucky showed you why I thought that way. Kentucky won this game 84-75. Moving on, don't know where the disrespect came at Vegas, but Kentucky, they led this game the whole way, leaving in no doubt there. Good pick. It was +2, I think they were getting yesterday. I took Kentucky, like I told you, on the money line. No problem there. Next game up, another SEC team. Ole Miss going up against Iowa State. Ole Miss got the job done against North Carolina. Ole Miss get the job done against Iowa State, 91-78. Ole Miss, once again, another SEC team looking really strong. They have 7 in the Sweet 16. My goodness, somebody going to have to knock one of them out of there now. Last game of the night was Oregon going up against Arizona. Of course, Caleb Love out there in Arizona doing his thing. He led them to the victory yesterday, 87-83. This was a close game. I didn't expect much different. I think we took Oregon plus the points. It was 3.5. We just missed it by a 0.5 point there. But, of course, this was a really close game. Good game to watch. Congratulations to Arizona moving on to the next round. All right. Of course, we got the NBA picks for the night. And I'm going to give us that lock. And if you haven't already, you better jump on the Discord because those parlays, they've been hitting. So once again, send me $10 to the Cash App. That's going to get you on the Discord for the month. And that's going to get you plenty of parlays to play. Yesterday, we didn't do too well with our NBA picks against the spread. We were great on our lock, of course. Don't worry about it. I got you on the lock. We're going to see if we can do better with our picks today. And, of course, I got a lock for you today. First game up is going to be Minnesota going up against Indiana. Of course, Indiana, they've been playing really well. They on a winning streak here. We got to roll with Indiana to win the game. But Anthony Edwards, he may or may not play for Minnesota, so that makes it tough to pick. So, unfortunately, I have to take Minnesota plus the points just because Indiana is terrible against the spread. But if Anthony Edwards doesn't play, I think Indiana minus the points would be the pick here. Next game up is going to be my lock of the night. The Lakers going up against the Magic. LeBron, he held court the other day. He told them all that they needed to apologize to Luka the way that they played against Chicago. So when he says stuff like that, you know, everyone is on notice. They're -4, 3.5, depending on where you're going to play this at. I don't care. I think they're going to run away with this game. Probably win by 10 at least. LeBron, like I said, he's not playing around. He's trying to win a championship. He know he doesn't have much time left. So Luka, he can't waste his talent down there. So he's letting everybody know he needs to see a better effort from them tonight. So I'm comfortable telling you that's the lock for the night. Next game up, the Wizards going up against the Raptors. This is a very tough game to pick. My goodness gracious. I hate to sit up here and tell you this, but I almost have to tell you to take the Wizards in this game just because Toronto is about 5 or 6 different people that Toronto would need to try to play this game aren't playing. The Wizards, they still have Alex sitting there trying to win Rookie of the Year, so they have some motivation. I just don't really know what to tell you in this game. I want to tell you to go with the points in Toronto. They just got smashed last night by San Antonio, so I think I have to tell you to take Washington minus the points in this game. Please don't kill me, but I have to tell you that. Next game up, but that is not a lock by any stretch of the imagination. Next game up is going to be Brooklyn going up against Dallas. This is another rough game to pick. Of course, Dallas, minus all of their players. Brooklyn, they've been struggling mightily. I have to tell you, though, Brooklyn is getting some points, I believe, at home. You got to take Brooklyn plus the 2.5 at home, and you got to roll with it. Of course, Dallas, like I said, they've been struggling, but they still find a way to stay in some of these games. But I'm not comfortable telling you to take Dallas minus any points. Next game up is going to be another tricky game. The basketball gods, they rained on me today with all of these rough games here. It's going to be New Orleans going up against Philly. Of course, Philly, they're undermanned with most of their team on the shelf here this year. Of course, New Orleans, same situation going on with them. Zion, game time decision. Most of the players for Philly, they already know they're not playing. So, really tough to pick this game here. I have to unfortunately tell you, take Philly plus the points. Yabusele in the game, they may figure out a way to keep this game close. Next game up is going to be the Bulls versus the Nuggets. Another big test this week for the Nuggets coming up in their building. The Bulls, they just come off that win against the Lakers the other night. I told you about the trio of Buzelis, Kobe White, and Josh Giddey. They've been getting their work done over there in Chicago. So they're going out here to Mile High without Jokic. I think Chicago may trick somebody again tonight, but I'm taking them Chicago plus them 3.5 against Denver tonight, and we're going to see what happens. Next game up is going to be Phoenix going up against Milwaukee. Of course, Milwaukee, they're without Damian Lillard here. Phoenix, they've been without Bradley Beal forever. So Phoenix is going down with one of their stars. It's going to be Giannis versus KD, Devin Booker. I think I'm going to take Phoenix in this game, believe it or not. Milwaukee's getting 2.5 points. I don't think Milwaukee's going to keep up. They almost lost that game the other night to Sacramento minus Domantas Sabonis. I think Phoenix, they've been making this run here at the end of the year. I think Phoenix going to figure out a way to get the job done tonight. I think Giannis may be a little tired out there. Next game up is going to be the last game of the night. It's going to be Sacramento going up against Boston. Of course, you never know who may or may not play for Boston. Sacramento, on the other hand, Domantas Sabonis, he did try to practice yesterday, but I don't think he's going to make it today. So, with that being said, I'm going to take Boston. It looks like Jaylen Brown may try to return tonight. Jason Tatum not on the injury report, so he should play. So, they should have most of their star power tonight. So, I'm going to roll with Boston. Of course, I want to take them as a lock, but I can't tell you that not knowing who's all going to play tonight. All right, once again, our lock for the night is going to be LA minus them 4 points. Of course, we're going to try to keep it rolling here. We've been rolling here on the 410. I appreciate your time. Congratulations, Maryland, for making the Sweet 16. Once again, if you haven't already, please subscribe, like this, share this with somebody. We're going to keep it rolling here on the 410. Don't forget, if you haven't already, reach out to your family and friends. Check on them. You never know when you're going to see them again. This is Adrian here on the 410.